Yes. We have just started calculus in which to find you, we mainly have two different category, that is differentiation. Where I have defined you, what do you mean by differentiation? It is nothing but breaking down of a curve into infinitely small strip so that you get slope, tangent, or equation of tangent at that given point related to that particular curve. Today I'll define you some problem and how to solve it. So first is, if you have y which is equals to x raised to the n, y is called function of x, n is exponential, so dy dx is nothing but differentiation of y with respect to x, which is equals to nx n raised to minus 1. This is your first formula of differentiation. I'm defining you one problem related to this. Let's say if you have y is equals to x raised to 3. So using this rule, you will get dy dx is equals to nx raised to n minus 1. So here n is 3. So according to this rule, it will be nx raised to n minus 1. So on solving, you will get 3x squared. So this is how we differentiate any function related to this expression. Is it clear for us?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So first of all, for any of the problem, try to bring each expression to the numerator and try to write them in terms of exponential form and then apply this formula. You will get your answer. Next is, if y is any constant term, so its differentiation of any constant term would be 0. I'm giving you relation y is it. Let's say if y is any constant such as 5. So it will be written like 5 into 1, or we will write it as 5 into x raised to 0. Is it clear? I've
Yes, sir.
just transformed this one as x raised to 0. Now apply the formula. Dy dx is equals to 5 being constant term, keep it outside as coefficient, here x raised to 0. So according to this formula, you will get nx raised to n minus 1. Since 0 is in multiplication with these terms, so on multiplying any number with 0, you will get 0. That's why differentiation of any constant term is 0. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Next is, if y is equals to sine of x, cos x, log of x, e raised to x. So dy dx of sine x is cos x. Differentiation of cos is minus of sine x, and differentiation of log is 1 over x, and differentiation of e raised to x is as it is, e raised to x. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just write it down. Alan, do you have any doubt till this part?
Sir,
Yes.
is this formula for y equals sin x?
Yeah.
Uh,
These are all
okay.
our formula. First is y is equals to x raised to n. Similarly, y is sin x, y is equals to cos x, y is equals to log x, and y is equals to e raised to x.
Okay.
Done, sir.
And
Done,
Was
sir.
done.
Yes.
Now, if you have to apply on some operations like add, subtract, multiply, divide, let's say first y is equals to fx plus or minus gx. Here we have two different functions and related by plus or minus. So according to the formula, dy dx is equals to differentiate first function plus or minus differentiate second function. I'm giving you one problem. Let's say if you have y is equals to x square plus 5x minus 2. So if you have to differentiate it, here we have three different expressions containing plus or minus signs in between. So on differentiating dy dx, first is differentiation of x square. Second is 5 being constant, take it outside as coefficient. And you have to differentiate x raised to nothing but 1. And next is just 2, which is a constant term. So differentiation of 2. Now applying the formula, here we have x raised to 2. So according to the formula, it will be nx n raised to minus 1 plus 5 being constant, x raised to 1. So it will be nx n minus 1 minus 2 is constant term. So its differentiation will be 0. On simplifying, you will get 2x plus 5 as dy dx for the above expression. Is it clear, Alan?
yes, sir.
Fawaz, any doubt?
Sir, how you got 2x 2 minus 1?
We have formula if y equals to x raised to n, so its differentiation would be nx n minus 1. It means move this exponential to the coefficient and reduce the exponential by 1. So here we have x raised to 2. So n is 2 here. So according to this rule, it will be nx raised to n minus 1. Is it clear for us?
So n is 2.
Yeah.
How will I know which is n?
N is nothing but exponential of that given expression.
Okay, sir.
Let's say if we have x raised to 5. So what will be the value of n?
5.
In this part, we may write root under as x raised to half. So n would be just half.
Okay, sir.
Ifra, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Done, sir.
Done, sir.
Try to solve. Write each term in numerator and in exponential form, and then apply the formula. This part. Try to solve. Good, Ifra. You may write this expression as x raised to minus 1 minus x raised to half and just 1. Now apply the formula. Thus, you will get your answer. Bas, should I solve? Or you are trying?
Sir, I will send answer.
Just see how to solve it. dy dx is equals to differentiation of x raised to minus 1. So for us, what is the value of n in this part?
-1.
So on applying the above rule, it will be nx n minus 1 for the first part, minus. Similarly, exponential of second term is plus
Half.
half. So it will be nx raised to n minus 1. And third term is just pi. Is it constant or variable?
Variable.
Means its value would be changeable from problem to problem, or it would be remain same as 3.14. It is a constant term. So differentiation of any constant term is 0. Is it clear? Alan?
Yes.
So,
Now on simplifying, you will get -1 x raised to -2. So on bringing to the denominator, it will become +2 minus half. On solving, you will get x raised to -half. On moving it to the denominator, it will become +half, and half is nothing but square root. So it will be like this. Is it clear? You may solve this as x raised to +half minus 1, which will be equals to -half. On moving to the denominator, it will become +half, and +half in terms of, it will be written like this. For us, is it clear? Just write it down.
Sir, done.
Next is if y is equals to fx multiplied by gx. Is it called product rule? So on differentiation, you will get dy dx is equals to differentiate first term, multiply it by second, plus differentiate second term multiplied by first. Like in plus or minus, there is no dependency of one on other, similarly other on first. But in multiplication, there is dependency. If you differentiate first term, second term gets multiplied with it. And similarly, if you differentiate second part, first term, you get multiplied with it. I'm giving you one example related to this. Let's say if you have y is equals to x squared times sine x. So you'll say here we have two different functions. One is x squared, that is algebraic function, and second is sine x, that is trigonometric. And they are related by multiplication. So according to this product rule, if you differentiate dy dx, it will be differentiation of first term, that is x squared, multiplied by sine x, plus differentiation of second term, that is sine x, multiplied by first, that is x squared. Now differentiate this, multiplied by this part. Differentiate this, multiplied by this part. You will get your answer. Try to solve, everyone. Fawaz, you have done a mistake. Alan, just send me your answer. Alan, just tell me, and for this part, the first term is x squared. So how will you differentiate it? Alan,
Yes, sir.
how will you differentiate this first term? According to this rule, if x raised to n, it will be n times x raised to n minus 1. So here we have n is equals to 2. So according to this rule, you will get n x raised to n minus 1 as first part. Keep the second term as it is.
Yes.
Is it clear for us?
Yes, sir.
Just tell me the differentiation of sine x for us.
One x, 1x, 1 minus 1.
Just see here. If y is equals to sine x, its differentiation is,
Cos x.
so it will be cos x whole multiplied by x squared. So on simplifying, you will get 2 times of x times sine x plus x squared times cos x. Is it clear? Alan?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just write it down. Have you all done?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now the next rule is if x divided by g. So if they're related by division, you would use question rule, or you will say division rule. It says dy dx of this function would be just differentiate first part multiplied by second minus differentiate second part multiplied by first and whole divided by square of denominator. As like in product rule, there was plus sign here, but in question rule, we have negative sign and whole divided by square of denominator. So how to apply this? I'm giving you one problem. Let's say if we have to calculate differentiation of tan x, there is no direct rule to find this. So you will break it as sine x divided by cos x. So this will be your numerator and this will be your denominator. On applying this rule, you will get dy dx is equals to differentiation of numerator, that is sine x, whole multiplied by denominator, that is cos x, minus differentiation of denominator multiplied by numerator and whole divided by square of denominator. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Alan, any doubt?
Yes.
Okay, just write it down and try to solve further. You have to differentiate only this part and get multiplied by this. Similarly, differentiate this part and multiplied by this and whole divided by square of denominator. Just try to simplify. If your answer is correct, Ellen,
Yes, sir.
solve. This part, we have to differentiate this sine x. Tell me the differentiation of sine x.
For cos x.
It will be cos x multiplied by cos x minus. Pavas, just tell me the differentiation of cos x.
For sin x.
It's minus sine x.
Huh?
And get multiplied by sine x whole divided by cos x squared. So you will get cos into cos, cos square x minus minus plus sine into sine, sine square x divided by cos square x. In this expression, you have this numerator, which may be further reduced. Alan?
1.
Good. So it will be equals to 1 divided by cos square x. 1 over cos is sec, so it will be sec square x as differentiation of tan x. Is it clear?
Yes.
Ifra, you may reduce your answer to this part as well.
Okay, sir.
Your answer was 1 plus tan x square, which will may be written like this.
Sir, done.
Done, sir.
I'm giving you one more problem related to this. Try to simplify. If y is equals to since you don't have any formula related to this directly, so you will break it as 1 divided by sine x. So from here we have 1 as numerator and sine x as denominator. So apply the formula and you will get your answer. So differentiation of y with respect to x is differentiate numerator multiplied by denominator minus differentiate denominator, multiply it by numerator and whole divide by square of denominator. Try to put each term in their respective position and simplify it, you will get your answer. Try to solve. If I just simplify your answer further.
Okay, sir, simplify.
Differentiation of numerator, that is 1, multiplied by denominator, that is sine x. Differentiation of denominator, that is sine x, multiplied by denominator 1, whole divided by square. Just apply the formula, you'll get your answer. Ifra, you may further simplify it.
Okay, sir, trying.
Alan, any doubt?
No, sir.
Just tell me the differentiation of 1 in this first part. Whether it is constant or variable.
Constant
So differentiation of any constant term would be
0.
good. And 0 multiplied with any number would be 0. So this whole term would become 0. Now the next term, which is sine x. So differentiation of sine x is
Cos x.
multiplied by 1. So it will be remain cos x. Whole divided by square of denominator. So you may write it as sine x into sine x. Now minus 1 times cos x divided by sine x and divided by sine x. Now, if you simplify it, you'll get your answer as this term and this term. Fawaz, just tell me 1 over sine x is equals to Ifra.
Yes, sir.
1 over sine x is
Sir, cosec x.
good. And cos divided by sine x is,
Sir, cot x.
so your final answer would be minus cosec x into cot x as differentiation of cosec x. Fawaz, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Alan, any doubt?
So, if we multiply sin x with 1, how will it become? Like 1 is 0, right?
No. In this part, we have to differentiate first term and second term is getting multiplied with it. Similarly, you have to differentiate this term only and 1 is in multiplication with this part. You don't have to differentiate each term here. You have to differentiate only this part. Like I have differentiated this part only and get multiplied with this. So differentiation of any constant term would be 0, and 0 on multiple equation with any term would be result as 0. In the second part, we have to differentiate only this part, and 1 is in multiplication with this. So differentiation of sine x is cos x multiplied by 1. Is it clear, Alan?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just write it down.
Done, sir.
Fawaz, done?
Done, sir.
Now there is some application of this differentiation. Application of differentiation. First is, it will define slope or inclination. So dy dx simply defines you tan theta, where theta is inclination with respect to x, where theta is angle with respect to positive x-axis. Next one is, it defines tangent to the curve at any point. Next, it will define a rate of change of one quantity with respect to another. Next, it will define instant nature or instantaneous velocity, instantaneous acceleration, instantaneous speed, and so on. And the last, which is most important, it will define you maximum or minimum of a function. Let's say if you have a curve like this, and if you have to calculate slope tangent to any given point, just draw a straight line passing through this particular point. Similarly, if you have to define tangent at this instant, so it will be like this. Now, if you have to calculate inclination of this line at this given point, just draw horizontal line to it like this. So the total inclination from this point to this point will define you slope tan theta at this given instant. Similarly, for this point, draw our horizontal line. So the inclination of this line from this point to this point will be slope or tan theta. Is it clear?
Yes, sir. Sir, what is rate of change of what is that word?
Rate of change of one function with respect to another. So the rate of change of one function with respect to another.
Okay.
Done, sir.
Answer.
The most important is yes, Fawaz.
Sir, can you go back?
Okay.
1 minute. Okay, done, sir.
How to calculate maximum or minimum value of a function. Let's say if you have a curve like this, and if you draw a tangent to this curve at this point, and let's say at this point. So this point will define you the highest or the maximum value of the function. Similarly, this point will define you the lowest or the minimum. So this is the maximum and this is minimum. Y with respect to x. Now, if you differentiate any function dy dx, it simply tells you tan theta, or it will simply define you tangent to the curve. That's why I've drawn tangent at this point and tangent at this point. Now, if I ask you to define inclination of this blue line with respect to x-axis, so what will be your answer? What is the inclination of this line with respect to x-axis? So you'll say, since this line is parallel to x-axis, so its inclination would be 0. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And since inclination is 0, it means theta is equals to 0. So if you put in this equation, you will get dy dx is equals to 0. It means at highest point and at lowest point, if you draw a tangent, it will be parallel to x-axis. So its inclination with respect to x-axis would be 0. So whenever you have to calculate maximum or minimum value, just differentiate the function and put it to 0. So from this, you will for maximum or minimum, put dy dx is equals to 0. Now the next problem is how to define whether this particular term is at maximum value or at minimum value. So to check it, we have to solve it further. So we can call it as second derivative. If you differentiate the function by 1, it is termed as or called as first derivative. And if we differentiate it again, we call it as second derivative. D over dx of that derivative part. So d and d would become d2y, dx become dx squared. So this will define you the second differentiation of the same function, that is y. Now this particular term in geometrical term defines you tangent next to dy dx. So this will define you tangent next to dy dx. Now, if you see in this expression, we have tangent at this point. So after it, if you draw a tangent, it will be passing from this point. And similarly, if you draw a tangent, it will be like this. Now, if you take inclination of these 2 points, let's say this point and this point with respect to x-axis, it would be along clockwise direction and it would be along anti-clockwise direction. On measuring angle with respect to x-axis, if it would be along clockwise direction, it would be taken as negative, and it would be along anti-clockwise direction, it will be positive. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So from this, you can conclude if second derivative is positive and if second derivative is negative. Second derivative positive at this point, which is nothing but the lowest or minimum. So it will define you the minimum value. And if second derivative is negative, it will define you the maximum or highest point. So from this, you conclude about the maximum or minimum value of the same function. Is it clear to you all how to
Yes,
define
sir.
maximum or minimum? I'm giving you one example related to this. Just write it down.
Done, sir.
That's
Done, sir.
You have to calculate maximum or minimum value related to this particular function. So whenever you have to calculate maximum or minimum, just differentiate dy dx and put it to 0. Try to differentiate and put it to 0 to get the value of x. Try to solve, everyone. Just differentiate each term. So it will be first part. 4 being constant, differentiation of x raised to 1 as second part, minus differentiation of third, that is x squared. Ifra, just check your calculation.
Okay, sir.
No, I think your answer is correct. Good. Fawaz, just tell me differentiation of this 8 is?
Sir, it will be 0.
Good. Plus 4 being coefficient. Here we have x raised to 1. So on differentiating, it will be nx raised to n minus 1 minus, here we have x raised to 2. So it will be nx n minus 1. Now, if you simplify it, you will get 4. X raised to 0 would be just 1 minus of 2x is equals to dy dx. Alan, just tell me what will we do next to get maximum or minimum value? To define maxima or minima of a function, just differentiate the function once and put it to 0. So put this particular part to 0. You will get 2x is equals to 4, x is equals to 2. This will be termed as point of minima or maxima related to this problem.
Yes.
Now, how to define whether this particular function is maximum or minimum? So we have to check it by using second derivative test. Just differentiate the function once again. That is second derivative. First term is 4. So differentiation of 4 minus 2 being coefficient, take it outside. Differentiation of x raised to 1. First term is 4, which is just a constant term, so its differentiation would be 0. Minus 2, x raised to 1, so it will be 1x raised to 1 minus 1. And it will be 0, so x raised to 0 would be just 1. So you will get minus 2 on. Is it clear?
Yes.
Fawaz, is this positive or negative?
Sir, it is negative.
So if second derivative is negative, so what you conclude about the function, whether it will be maximum or minimum?
So maximum.
Yes.
Good. So it will be maximum. So my y maximum would be at x is equals to 2. So put the value of x in this first expression to get maximum value of y. Try to solve. Good, Ifra. I'm defining you its geometrical interpretation. Good, Fawaz. If you draw a curve related to this function, you will get this as y and x. So just see, this is your vertex of this curve, which is the highest point corresponding to this value of x. So x will be 2 and y will be 12 at this given instant. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And then if you put the value of x to be 2 in this above equation, you will get y is equals to 12 as maximum value. And if you draw related to this particular curve, you'll get this type of graph. Is it clear to you all?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Have you all written?
Yes, sir.
So we have just finished this whole differentiation. The next part is to define integration, which is nothing but a reverse process of differentiation. So integrate means sum or summation. Let's say sigma, it defines you sum of term having delta x expression or y times delta x. If delta x tends to very small, that this difference will tend to 0. It will transform like this. So this sigma, which is nothing but sum, and the first letter of sum is s. So it will be written as elongated s as sign of integration. Is it clear till this part?
Yes, sir.
So this is nothing but elongated s to define sum, and it is nothing but sign of integration. Now we have two different ways of summing up any expression. Let's say if a curve is extending like this, and if I assume the first as this, this particular curve would have infinite strip corresponding or like this from one end to the other end. Like this. So this base is along x-axis, so it will be termed as delta x, and the total height corresponding to this will be termed as y. So if you have to calculate area related to this particular curve, it will be length times breadth. So length is y and breadth is dx. So on taking the area of this particular curve, it will be y times dx. And I have just assumed this particular curve would have infinite strip of this kind extending from one end to the other end, so there would be some limitation or limit to find the area. That's why we divide this integration into two parts. First is called indefinite integration, and second is called definite integration. Indefinite means there is no limit of summing of curve for any calculation. It will extend from one end to other end as it is. So if there is no limit bounded, is called indefinite integration. But if there is limit bounded, like you have to calculate area starting from this A till this B. So this term is called lower limit, and this term is called upper limit. Is it clear till this part? So in mathematical, it will be written as y times dx extending from lower limit A to upper limit B. If you solve this expression, you will get y x times upper limit, lower limit. Now, if you put the value of x to be b, and if you put x to be a, you will get these two different values. These two terms will define nothing but area corresponding to this point to this point. Let's say this area will be nothing but y times a. Similarly, if you calculate area from this point to this point, like this, it will be termed as y times b from this point to this point. But if you have to limit yourself only from this point to this point, let's say from this point only. So what will you do? You will just subtract these two expressions. So it will be yb minus ya. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
That's why we put a negative sign in between to get the actual value of limit from one term to another. So this type of integration in which there is limit bounded is called definite integration, and if there is no limit bounded, we call it as indefinite integration. Just write it down. I'm giving you some formula how to calculate integration.
Done, sir.
Done.
You have x raised to n times dx. It will be x raised to n plus 1 divided by n plus 1 And this formula is valid only for x not equals to -1. But if x is to -1, it will be 1 over x times dx. So it will be log of x. And last, if we have e raised to x times dx, it will be e raised to x. And similarly, if you integrate sine x, it will be minus of cos x. And integration of cos x dx, it will be just positive times sine x. So these are formula to calculate or to define integration. I'm giving you some example how to solve. Let's say if you have integration 2 times x dx. So how to solve it? Move this 2 to coefficient. So it will be 2 times integration x raised to 1 times dx. So according to this formula, x raised to n on integration will give you x raised to n plus 1 divided by n plus 1. So it will be 2 times. Here we have n as plus 1. So it will be n plus 1 divided by n plus 1. So on simplifying, you will get x raised to 2 divided by 2. This 2 and this 2 would cancel out. So you would get just x squared. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Fawaz,
Yes, sir.
is it clear?
Sir, can you explain again, please?
Okay. We have question as 2x dx. So here we have 2 as constant. So keep it outside. And next is x raised to nothing but 1. So on comparing this expression with this, you get n is equals to 1. So apply the formula, you'll get x raised to n plus 1 divided by n plus 1.
Okay, okay.
But if you have to integrate by using definite integration, it will be 2 times of x dx. And if there is limit from 1 to 2, so it will be 2. Integration of this particular term would be x squared divided by 2. So this 2 and this 2 would cancel out. So you will get x squared only. And if there is limit from 2 to 1, put the value of x first as upper limit. So it will be 2 times of square, and lower limit 1 square, and there would be negative in between. So it will be 4 minus 1, which is equals to just 3. So this is definite integration, and this is indefinite integration. There is only difference of their limit. Is it clear? Alan?
Yes, sir.
Nabila, just wait for a few minutes. I'm continuing.
Yes, sir.
Have you all done?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
1 minute, sir.
Okay. So just revise this whole part. In next class, I will define you some more problems related to this, and then we will start new chapter. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.